Hi, so I just wanted to do a quick follow-up video to my ARC notebook video that I posted yesterday. I had purchased an ARC notebook from Staples and the paper in it is fantastic and it's not that expensive. For a pack of 50 refills, I think it was between $3 and $4. And so I just wanted to show you, I wrote on it with all of the fountain pens that I have, and I would say it's not just fountain pen friendly, that the paper loves the fountain pen. So these were my little trials, and I listed what the pen was, what the nib size was, and what ink was in it. So I tried my new Pilot Kakuno with an F nib, and I just had the black cartridge. My Noodler's Ahab with an F nib, and I had Private Reserve Plum in that. The Lamy Safari with an M nib, Private Reserve DC Super Show Blue. Pilot Plumix with an M nib with Lamy Turquoise. The Jinhao X750, the factory nib, I'm guessing it's an M nib in Diamine Grape. The Pilot Metropolitan with an M nib in Diamine Scarlet. Pilot Metropolitan with an M nib in Private Reserve Spearmint. My Kaweco Ice Sport with the double broad nib with Omos Sepia. A Pilot Petite with an F nib and the cartridge, which was blue black. And then I just threw in a Pilot Varsity. I still use Pilot Varsities. I really like them. And those just have an M nib, and it was the purple ink that was in it. So this is the front of the paper, and I did just the regular Sharpie marker up at the top just to see. After I did all of these, I was kind of shocked, and so I thought, does anything show through this paper? The Sharpie will. But if I show you up close, I'll try to just focus on a dark ink. There's, with the inks, all of the inks, I would say I saw absolutely no feathering at all with any of these inks. I'm trying to give you a good close-up. So very sharp lines, no feathering whatsoever. And then when I flipped the paper over, absolutely nothing. The only thing that showed through was the Sharpie at the top. That was it. Laying this paper down, there's nothing. You can see nothing. And so I was thoroughly impressed with the paper. I used it to write some letters today, and with different inks, and I was just blown away by it. So I'm kind of thinking that the notebook is worth it just for the paper. Even if you just get one of the inexpensive plastic covers, the paper is awesome. And I can't believe that fountain pen people, I haven't heard about fountain pen people using the paper. I mean, you can always just cut off the side if you don't like the holes for the arc, but it's excellent paper. So somebody also asked me if I would update on how my Kaweco Sport is working. I did a lot of work on this nib, and you know, as pretty as I think the pen is, and I like the bright blue, had I known that it was going to require this much work, I might not have purchased this pen. I mean, it wasn't very expensive, and so, you know, that's fine. I really wanted to try the double broad nib, and then it just kind of, you know, it was a disappointment from the very beginning. It just had a lot of writing issues. So anyway, I used my tuning and cleaning kit from Goulet Pens, and I worked and worked and worked on this nib with the help from several people that watch my videos. Jen Wyvern specifically was very helpful in advice and what to do with in the tuning process, and it's to a point where I'm happy enough with it. I think you can kind of see it actually. If I hold this up, that might help. So you can kind of see where we're at a little bit. It's okay. It's nothing spectacular, and for the experience that I have now, like, you know, it was a lot of work to get to this point, and it's not spectacular. But it's still a pretty pen, and so I will definitely use it and keep it in the rotation of pens that are being used. And it's fun, it's different. Yeah, so I just refilled the cartridge with Omos Sepia, and I'll give you a little writing sample and show you how it's working. Another thing about this paper is, so I'm pretty convinced that my Clairefontaine pad that I was testing inks and pens on, that's like a defective pad or something, because I can write on the paper, and in parts it's like patchy, like almost like it repels the ink. And so I couldn't get this pen to write on the paper at all for a very long time. And one of the things that I noticed with this paper, the ARC paper, I mean, no problem, no skipping, no anything. It was, I mean, everything was just a beautiful writing experience. The paper is nice and smooth. It feels, you know, feels fairly rugged. It's a nice quality paper. I can't say enough nice things about this paper. I have my notebook set up. I can show you that in just a minute here. But I just was going to do a writing sample because somebody asked. They wanted to see how was this writing at this point. So let's see if it actually works. So, So, as you can see, it's working, and it worked. I didn't prime it at all to get it started. I hadn't, you know, written with it before I showed you, so it wrote straight out of being uncapped, and it wrote just fine. So it's working, and like I said, I'm pleased with it at this point, pleased enough. But it was just kind of a disappointment. I thought, you know, I had heard a lot of good things about this pen, and I thought it would work. You know, like the Pilots, I've had zero problems with. They're fantastic pens. I'm loving the Pilot Kakuno. I wrote all day today with that pen, and it's so lightweight, and it's such a beautiful nib that works every time. And I would get several of those pens if I felt so inclined to get a new pen. Just something to note, when I went over this twice, you can see maybe just a little bit of feathering, but actually no, it's just shading. So yeah, you can see double broad nib and absolutely no feathering. And let's flip it over and see if you can even see that on the page. Nothing. Isn't that unbelievable? That is unbelievable to me. I'm going to show you the Jinhao, because this one lays down a heavy line of ink. And it's got the Diamine Grape in it, which is really dark, and we'll see if it shows through. I would say this paper is just as smooth as Rhodia paper. I mean, it's excellent. So here's the Jinhao. You can see there were absolutely no startup problems, no skipping problems, and it wrote beautifully. And let's look at the other side. Oh, let's see. No feathering at all. Looking at the other side, absolutely nothing. This paper is awesome, and I know they sell it in, this is like, you know, the one for the 5.5 by 8.5 notebook, but they sell it for large notebooks, 8.5 by 11. And this, if anybody asks me, I've had several people ask me what paper I recommend. This paper is incredible, and it's super inexpensive and very easily accessible, I think, to a lot of people. So if you have a Staples, you can have access to this, or Staples Online. So I would certainly recommend this paper. It's fantastic, and the update on my Kaweco, it's working, so that's a good development. I got a lot of practice with the micro mesh and the Mylar paper and my nib tuning kit on that pen, so that was a good thing. And I guess, you know, the fact that I ordered them both at the same time from different places, it was just kind of this serendipitous coincidence. I don't know, but it worked out, and it's working now. So yeah, that's the update. Thanks for requesting that. And I'll just give you a quick flip through of, oh, it's so dark, it may not even show up. So I'm really liking this ARC notebook. I've been pulling paper out of it, like I said, to write letters. Let's see if you can see it. So this is just a setup that I have now. We'll see if it stays, depending on how I end up using this. Several people have told me I got a really good deal on this, so I'm going to go back to Staples tomorrow and see what else I can find for a good deal. So I replaced the 1/2-inch rings or discs with 1-inch discs. And I knew as soon as I started putting things in I was going to have to do that. So I would say, unless you're going to keep the notebook pretty much the way that it was when you got it, you're probably going to need to get larger rings. I like the way it looked better with the 1/2-inch rings, but it just wouldn't fit what I wanted to put in it. So if you wanted just like one pouch and the paper, it would probably be sufficient to just keep the rings. Otherwise, you may want to consider purchasing more. And then the 1.5-inch rings were just, they were massive. I thought it would look way weird. At this point, let's give you a little bit of, see, you can see it's, maybe you can see, it's, you know, it's big. The rings are big. So, loving the cover. And what I have in it is, so I had my flags here as well, and it was just a little too fat right here, and it wasn't quite, you know, closing completely, and I wanted it to close completely flat. So I just moved the flags over underneath this flap. We'll see if they stay there or not, but I did have them here originally. You can see again the credit card slots. I've just attached the Post-its here. The task pad, what I ended up doing was just, you know, I don't need more than this at a time in the notebook, and so I just tore off a little chunk, and the way that they're still attached at the top, the adhesive was pretty solid there, and so I mean it's still attached until you rip it at the top as well. And so I just have a few of those in there. I ended up putting this pocket here, and I have to say, to change the rings, it wasn't too hard, but I certainly would change the rings before you kind of set up. If you know you're going to put multiple things in here, more than just the paper, I would definitely change the rings before you do anything, because it would be a real pain to have to pull everything off, put everything back on, or rather put everything on, pull it off, switch the rings, and put everything back on. That would just be, you know, what's the point? So then I've just got my dividers. After that, I don't have any paper behind them yet because I don't have them sectioned off. I have the ruler here, and I took out some of the paper. I didn't need, you know, 60 sheets in there. I'm not going to fill up 60 sheets in a day. So I just kept some of the paper in here. Also, again, to keep it so that it would close completely. I put the back pouch here because I thought this would protect the last sheet of paper and give me another pouch in the back if I wanted it. And that's it. So, if you don't have an ARC notebook and you use fountain pens, I think you should maybe at least look at getting the cheap one, or even just getting a pack of refills. You don't even need to buy the notebook itself if you don't want it, because the paper is so excellent. I love it, and like I said, this doesn't bother me, and I wrote somebody a really long letter using several sheets of this paper, and my pen never skipped, never bled through, never feathered, and I think it, you know, it looked really nice, and I don't think people would mind this too much. So I hope this was helpful, and if you have any other videos you'd like to see, you know, always feel free to ask me or request, you know, something you'd like to see. I made this video in response to a request, so yeah, I'm happy to do those. So I hope you're having a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.